Okay, hello everyone. Okay, so the next program in chapter 3 is magic date. Okay, so the date June 10th, 1960 is special because when it is written in the following format, the month times day equals the year, like this. But when it's written in the following format, the month times the day is equal to the year. So 6 times 10 is equal to 60. So when that is the case, then the date is magic. So design a program that asks the user to enter a month in numeric form, a day, and a 2-digit year. The program should then determine whether the month times the day equals a year. If so, it should display a message saying the date is magic. Otherwise, it should display a message saying the date is not magic. So basically, when you have a date in this form and the month times the day, okay, I think that's how they have this format. So month times the days equals a year. Okay, I think it's month first and day second. Okay. So if it's written in this format and month, 6 times 10 is equal to 60, then that date is magic. If not, then that date is not magic. Okay, so we're going to ask the user to enter the month, the day, and the year. We're going to check to see if the month times the day is equal to the year. Let's see. So let's start with the first thing the program is asking us to do. So design a program that asks the user to enter a month in numeric form, a day, and a 2-digit year. So let's start by doing that. So we ask the user with the input function, and we are going to say, we use the input function to ask the user and say, please enter a month. Okay, enter a month. And so this is going to ask the user a question. Now, it's going to also allow the user to type in, put the colon here in the space. It's going to also allow the user to type in the month. But when the user types in the month, whatever the user types here, okay, using the input function, is going to be returned as a string. Even if the user enters a number, this input function is going to return it as a string. So we don't want a string. We want a number so we can use it in calculations. We can't really use strings in calculations. We can't multiply a string, by another number. I mean, you can in different forms when you get to list in Python. In different ways, I think you can. But generally, based on what I'm saying, we haven't gotten to list yet. That's all the way in chapter 7. But based on what I'm saying here, and actually what I'm talking about is not actually multiplying strings. It's basically duplicating something, okay? But generally, you can't multiply a string with a number, okay? So whatever is returned from this input function is a string, even if the user enters a number. So we have to convert that string that is returned from this function to a number so that we can use it in calculations. So in this case, we want to convert this input that the user types, okay, which is going to be returned as a string, into an integer. And the way we do that is we call the int function, and we surround everything that the user has typed with parentheses. So basically, we are converting everything that the user has typed here using the input function into an integer. And when we do that, we need a place to store it. So I'm going to create a variable, and I'm going to call it user month. And I'm going to set it equal to what the user has typed for month, converted to an integer, because everything that the input function returns is a string. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing for day and year, because the program says enter the month in numeric form, a day, and a 2-digit year. So I'm going to print this, and I'm going to say please enter a day, a numeric day. Okay, but they'll know it's numeric, so I'm going to say please enter a day. Change the variable to user day, and the last one is going to be sorry. The last one is going to be a 2-digit year. So please enter a 2-digit year, and that's going to be stored in user year. User year. Okay. So by the time this is done, we will have everything stored here. We have user month, user day, and user year stored in variables. So the program is asking us to see if the month times the day is equal to the year. Okay, so I'm going to, in that case, if that's the case, if it's really the case, if the month times the day is equal to the year, we should go ahead and print the date is magic. If not, you should go ahead and print the date is not magic. So let's create an if statement and say if the user month, because the program is saying, okay, the program should then determine whether the month times the day equals a year. So if the user month times the user day is equal to, I'm using double equals to compare to see if what's on the left is equal to what's on the right. If I use one equal, I'm assigning what's on the right to what's on the left. I'm using double equals to just compare to see if what's on the left is equal to the right. So I'm saying if user month times user day is equal to user year, colon, then let's go ahead and print that the date, actually, okay, the date is magic. But you know what? We actually have the month, the day, and the year. We have it in variables. So why not use it? Why not tell the user, hey, the date that you entered, the date January for, we have the variables. Let's go ahead and use it in the program to make it even look nicer. So let's go ahead and do that. It's probably going to look more or added, like we've added more stuff to it. But yeah, it's fine. Let's do it and make the program look nice. So we can say this. We can say the date. Okay, the date. I'm going to close the string here and space it out and say I'm going to concatenate it with some variables. Okay, and say the date. So month, is it month times day? So I think it's month, day, and year. So let's start with the month. The date user month. Okay, concatenated to concatenated with a slash. Okay, let's just print it this way. Concatenated with user day, concatenated with a slash. Oops. A slash. Now, before I continue, okay, before it gets messy and before anyone gets confused, if we try to concatenate an integer to a string, Java is, oh, sorry, not Java, I'm sorry. Python is going to complain that it cannot convert an integer. It cannot convert an integer to a string and concatenate them. It cannot concatenate an integer to a string. It needs to first convert it to a string, and it'll complain that it cannot do that implicitly, meaning it cannot do it by itself. So it means we have to do that explicitly ourselves. Okay, ourselves. It has to do that in an explicit way. Okay, meaning ourselves. So I'm going to convert this value stored in user month to a string by just calling the str function, which stands for string. And it's going to convert everything that I've surrounded in parentheses, surrounded with parentheses, to a string. And then now it's going to go ahead and concatenate the string with the string, because now this string str function is returning the value of this, or the contents of this user month, concatenated to the string. I'm going to do the same thing for this, and I'll surround it here. Okay, now now I've set the date. Okay, user month slash user day slash. Now I want to concatenate it with the user year, but I'm going to convert it to a string. User year. Now I don't want to exceed this line here, because I want to try to restrict 80 characters in a line. I don't want to type more than 80 characters in a line. And this line here is like a guideline for me. It's like a Python thing to keep 80 characters in a line, okay? So I'm trying to flow or do the same thing, or follow that. So I'm going to break this line from here to the next line. Before you break any line to the next line, you have to type in the backslash like this, and then hit enter and break it. All right, so I've broken it. I can go ahead and continue now. So I've typed in the date, concatenated to the month slash the day slash the year. Okay, now go ahead and continue my string. Is magic. Okay, and yeah. So now I'll print that. Oh, and again, I wasn't supposed to end this with a semicolon. I'm thinking I'm programming in Java. That's why I'm doing that. I'm sorry. I don't have to terminate it, so no semicolons. All right, so if that's the case, if really the user month times the user day is equals to the user year, then we print the date is magic, and we actually printing it. Actually printing the date itself. All right. Now, if that's not the case, else. Okay, so if this is the case, then do that. Else, meaning if that's not the case, then let's go ahead and print the same statement, but this time we're going to say that date is not magic. Okay, we're going to say the date, user month times slash user day slash user year is not magic. And we're done. So now let's debug this and see what happens. So I'm going to save this in the folder where I keep all the files. It's on the desktop. I'll create a new folder and I'll call it magic date. And then I'll save this as magicdates.py. Okay, so it's running. Okay, so it's running. Please enter a month, and I'm going to try to first try this. 6. Okay, so month I'm going to enter 6. The day I'm going to enter 10, and in the year I'm going to enter 60. Okay, 60. I'm going to hit enter, and it says the date 6/10/60 is magic. Okay, now I want a space. Now it's working. This is nice. I want to put a space between the inputs and then the output. I mean the input questions. Okay, the questions asking for input and then the output. So right after I'm done asking for input, I want to go ahead and call a print function. Now the print function by default, okay, if I type in something like this, after it prints out this, it's going to end it with a new line. Okay, so if I call the print function without typing anything in there, it's going to print nothing, but it's still going to end it with a new line. Okay, it's still going to print a new line as well. Okay, so this print function is just going to print a new line with nothing in it. So it's basically going to create an empty line, print a line with a line. It's going to print nothing and then move the cursor to the next line. Okay, so I'm going to run this and try it again. So please enter a month. I'm going to try the same thing. 6, 10, 60, and now we have a line here, so it looks nice. So the date 6/10/60 is magic. Let's try 6/10/61. Because 6 times 10 is not equal to 61, it should say the date is not magic, right? So I'm going to say 6/10/61 and hit enter, and now it says the date 6/10/61 is not magic because 6 times 10 is not equal to 61. It's equal to 60. And that's why 6/10/60 is magic and 6/10/61 is not magic. So this program works. If you have any questions, please comment down below and I'll do everything to respond to them. Thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you next time with the next program. Bye-bye.